Advocates are calling for clubs and the AFL to take proactive action to stamp out homophobia after a Gold Coast Suns player was handed a 5-game suspension for using a homophobic slur in last Sunday's game. Jason Ball is one such advocate who has been fighting for years to eradicate homophobia in the AFL. He joins us now from London. Jason, good morning. Great to see you again.
Hey, good to see you, Michael.
What do you think of this 5-match suspension dished out to Wil Powell from the Gold Coast Suns?
Look, I have no doubt that Wil didn't intend to cause any harm with the slur that he used. But at the end of the day, when we're considering the sanction that the AFL has used and the action that they must take, it's important to think not about the intention, but rather the impact. And words are powerful, and homophobic slurs are incredibly harmful to the LGBTQ community. We know that the LGBTQ community experience much higher rates of depression, anxiety, and even suicide because of vilification and discrimination that they experience. And that includes casual homophobia and homophobic language. So the AFL are right to take action. They're right to set an example of Wil. At the end of the day, the amount of time a sanction is for, it really depends on the context of when it was said. But at the end of the day, if the AFL want to be creating an environment where people can feel safe to be who they are, then they need to be taking a zero-tolerance approach to homophobia, as they would with sexism or racism.
And when you say zero tolerance, what more action would you like the AFL to take on this front?
Well, if you want to change a culture, sanctions alone are not going to do that. And while Wil needs to be held accountable for his own actions as an individual, the AFL also bears some responsibility for their lack of proactive action on this issue over many years. If you want to change a culture, you need to have long-term, sustained research, education, and initiatives that champion the kind of values that you hold. If the AFL believes in things like diversity, if the AFL believes in things like inclusion, then they need to be going out there and being proud about those values and trumpeting them loud and clear. For example, in a pride round. A pride round is more than just putting a rainbow 50-metre line out there, but who doesn't love a rainbow 50-metre line? It's also about the opportunity that that point in time creates to have conversations, to hear from LGBTQ players, officials and fans, for them to share their stories so that people can listen and work with them to make sure that the game's inclusive for everybody.
Those are further actions you'd like the AFL to take. Jason, does it concern you that what Wil Powell said was said only a few weeks after Jeremy Finlayson got a 3-match suspension for also using a homophobic slur?
Look, I think that the sequence of this is incredibly disappointing and disheartening. It's sad that this is happening still in 2024. It's words like Wil used, like Jeremy used, that were the reason that I stayed in the closet for so long when I was a young footballer. When I was a kid growing up, homophobic language was constant, whether it was coming from over the fence, coming from the opposition, coming from my coach or even my own teammates. And it left me scared to be myself. I thought that if my teammates found out that I was gay, that they would hate me, that they wouldn't want to play on the same team as me. And so, I went to great lengths to hide my sexuality from my teammates. I would second guess everything I said or did, wouldn't get involved in conversations about relationships or what I was doing on the weekend. It probably, really limited the kinds of friendships and bonds that I could have developed with my teammates growing up. And it really started from that homophobic language. And, if that language is still here in the game today, it's no wonder to me that still in 2024, not a single male player has felt comfortable to come out.
I was going to ask you that very question. Do you fear this will encourage gay players in the men's competition? We know there are gay players in the men's competition from coming out and being comfortable going public with their sexual identity.
Look, it's not going to help, Michael. I think that at the end of the day, no one should be forced out of the closet. That's absolutely a decision for that individual. But it is the responsibility of the AFL in terms of the culture that exists, and they should be working proactively to create a culture where if a player does want to come out, that they should be able to. No one should have to choose between being who they are and playing the game that they love.